Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District, episode 142 here. Never missing a beat. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner. Trev has the night off, so we wish him the best on there. We appreciate everybody joining us here tonight as we will be talking about the upcoming Atlanta Falcon games. Just a reminder, Washington going into that at 2-3, not 0-5. We'll talk about those week 6 predictions as well. And then first up is repairs are in order. Stoner, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Nathan. What's happening there? That might be in 142 episodes. That might be the first time you've ever said, "Hey, Stoner, how you doing?"
No, I guarantee
so.
I guarantee it's not.
No, good. All is well here in Baltimore, or right outside of Baltimore. Fans are not happy with the Baltimore Ravens either. So,
yeah,
good. If we can't be happy, they can't be happy either.
The shade being thrown the Orioles' way with is this a moral victory season after winning 100 games and getting ousted by the Rangers? Swept. Bigly, as it were. We got Big E in the chat, TJ in here, Yam as well, Gus here. Already thrown out. Time to retire the black jerseys, Stoner. Just time to throw them out. I don't know. I like the black jerseys. I don't know. I think it's a neat thing to do. I said last week, right? I said I like the gimmicks. Have a whiteout game. Have a blackout game. Get flags rolling in there and people just waving them all the way around. I want our English fans to come up with some good soccer hooligan type chants for us to do, because Lord knows I'm not creative enough to do that. So
I don't hate the black jerseys. I don't love them, but I don't hate them. I know a lot of people think they're cursed. Here we go with the whole curse thing.
Yeah,
right? Everything's cursed. If we lose, something's got to be cursed. It can't be that the players suck or whatever.
It's got one victory in there.
Right. But what? 1-5, 1-4?
1-4. No, they've only worn them 3 times now, right?
I think twice
twice last season, and then once this season.
Okay, you might be right.
Yeah. So Biggie, you're right. The jerseys don't have any effect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you know how it was before. It was change the name, and then everything will be okay, or do this and everything, it's cursed because of that. And I don't believe in curses. So.
Yeah, you don't. And you cursed us into some injuries this week, and we'll do that as well. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So the DC Defenders have chants, mottos, beer snakes, and Washington, we had Hail to the Redskins, right?
Yeah,
for the longest time, and they've moved it to Hail to the Commanders, and Lord knows we've tried, Stoner. We worked with the team, they gave us the song, and we tried to do that after touchdowns. One, it doesn't help that there's so few touchdowns to celebrate, but it just hasn't stuck, right? Just hasn't stuck. We need something. That would be one of those things to fix, but it's just there's so many more things to fix on the field to be focused on that we want to talk about. And we did ask people, what would you fix, and what would you fix just to beat the Falcons? I loved some of the answers, and we'll get to them there in a moment. One of the discussions this week, Stoner, centered around the talk from media types, not legit journalists, but more shock jocks and entertainers around the idea that Josh Harris has been too conservative to start his ownership.
Yeah.
Key reminder here, the guy didn't actually become owner until late June.
June or even late July. When was it?
Oh, you're right.
I thought it was late July. But either way, you're talking about weeks before training camp even started. So it's not like he was here before the draft and all that stuff. So I don't understand, and maybe some people can tell me what it is that we expect him to do in a situation like this. What can he be more aggressive about? because it seems like revisionist history. Like we're just talking about, was it June or July?
It was July. I double checked. It is July.
Well, it's revisionist history. When he came here, training camp was like 2 weeks away. What is he going to do? Is he going to come in and just clean house? Who's he going to get to replace these guys?
Yeah, I think we were always destined with how late the sale happened to live this season out in kind of this malaise that it is.
Yeah,
we're all very optimistic that the season wasn't going to end in disaster, and it still might not. We're about to enter the Ron Rivera period of the season where the team turns it around and wins more games than they lose.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. Okay. Well, that's in the future. Well, that's going to be there. But this right now, the next like 7 games, Washington's going to somehow go at least 4-3.
You're probably right.
And we're going to be sitting at 6-6. And we're going to be like, Washington's in the thick of it. They can make the playoffs. And it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the question I'm asking is what we expected him to do. If he hasn't been aggressive or people wanted him. And look, one of the people who was very adamant about it and very vocal about it is Doc Walker. And Doc Walker went on his own show and a bunch of other shows, and he got out there and said he needed to be more aggressive. And I just didn't get how he would do that. Did you want Dan Snyder to fire Ron and Jack Del Rio and everybody and then hire the new staff himself on his way out? No. So if Josh Harris comes in July and fires everybody, who's he going to get? Everybody has jobs. Is he going to go get some of these USFL people? Like, is he going to get a Greg Williams to be your head coach? Or I don't even remember, Bob Stoops was coaching in the USFL, right? Or whatever it was, the XFL. Is he going to go get those guys?
I think he was the USFL.
Yeah. Is he going to go throw $10 million at Ryan Day at Ohio State or Josh Heupel at Tennessee? I think that's where Josh Heupel is. Is he going to throw $10 million a year at college coaches and they're just going to up and leave as they've already got their program going into the summer? I just don't know what he could have done at that time when he came in. I don't get it.
Yeah, I definitely think that it was silly to think anything was going to be changed immediately for the Commanders. One, they've made some of those hires. They brought in Eric Bieniemy. There's some excitement around there, and you're just going to let it play out. Let them have this season to determine whether or not what you need to do. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like the team is, and again, Washington's 2-3 here. Now that was an ugly loss against the Bears. And as you said, Stoner, that's a job that's a loss that someone's going to lose their job.
Someone should.
Maybe not now, maybe a few games later there. But I'm going to go with Gus's comment here just because I want to address this. Rivera owes the playoff season to JDR, covering for him in a COVID year where he was battling cancer. I can see why Rivera would stick with JDR, especially in the latter stage of his career.
Yeah. It's his buddy.
That is a friend. Also, I thought we determined, by the way, my bad. That was from Gus Bus for our audio listeners. My bad. I forgot that JDR is too cool of a name for Jack Del Rio.
Oh, right? We can't call him that.
We can't call him that. That's like the Gibby Gibson thing.
Gotcha.
You can't call him Jack Del. You have to call him Jack Del Rio or Jack or Del Rio. Okay. You can't call him JDR unless we've got a top 5 defense. Right now, he's very much Jack Del Rio.
What if they shut out Atlanta?
If they shut out Atlanta, all right, maybe I throw around the JDR a little bit enough. There. I disagree with Gus on this. That playoff season is only it's not Jack Del Rio. Washington was 7-9 and 9.
It's everybody else.
It was the fact they owe that to everybody else sucking even worse than they did.
Right.
They backed into the playoffs as well. Because if you remember, that was another year. I think Washington was 6-6. They controlled their own destiny.
Yeah.
And they go 1-3, but it was because everybody else sucked worse.
Yeah.
That they ended up in the playoffs. So they were just very fortunate to get there. And then of course we had Mr. Medicine Ball Arm out there for the playoffs. Got everybody excited, and then Fitzpatrick, and the rest is history. There's definitely been some negligence happening that Josh Harris might have been able to see ahead of time and maybe try to urge some suggestions. But he doesn't actually own the team until July. And at that point, any kind of fix is going to look a lot like how Rogelio Mayo, we're going to call him Ro here, on our community post. Said, don't fix anything during this season. Ron and his coaching staff just leave town. Harris will hopefully find a coach that knows how to coach, be able to coach and fix it. And I think blowing everything up in July is essentially doing that, right? Like, you're dooming whoever comes in here to coach to fail miserably.
Right.
Just so that way you're set up for future years. And that is just not how you want to run things. Now we'll see how Arizona's doing it, because they've had a fire sale. If you look at Houston kind of did that with the Lovie Smith year, where they allowed him to hold it for a year and then just like, yep, thanks, you're out. Here's a new coach, new QB. We want everything reset. So maybe they could have done it the Lovie Smith way, but Lovie Smith still had a full off season and draft to work things. So
I think it's smart on their part to just kind of sit back and evaluate everything rather than just coming in and start cleaning house and changing this person and that person. They brought in some people that we don't really see, some people who are going to be the front and center for stadium, right? Some executives on the non-football side that they've done, but they need time to evaluate not just Ron and Jack. See, I didn't call him that other name, and EB. We can call him EB, right? Because offensively, they've been pretty good.
I think they've. I like him more than I like Jack Del Rio.
That's right. So you can call EB and all those guys, and they have to be able to take a look and see if this is what they want for their future, and give them that entire year to evaluate, and also just allow them to kind of get settled into being who they are as owners of a football team. I understand basketball, hockey, European football. They've been inside of that already, but the NFL is a whole different animal in terms of the money and the amount of players and just kind of all the different things, the logistics that go back and forth. And so they needed time to just kind of settle in. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they didn't just come in and just start, moving the chairs on the Titanic, as the saying goes. So I'm happy. And again, I don't know what they could have done that late when they came in.
And I think it would have been foolhardy to try to make any changes when the team last year definitely failed at the end of the season, but that was a playoff team, right? This was a team that looked like it was going to go to the playoffs, and it just needed to get the offense fixed, and they make the Eric Bieniemy hire. And so when they're pitching the Josh Harris to keep their jobs for this year, right? And he's looking at it, he's like, okay, this was a team that controlled their own destiny and then pooped their pants. And they got the guy we think is going to fix it. And you got to like Eric Bieniemy with how he talked at that point and the things that you're looking at. You're like, this is going to work out, only to see it just not work in there. Justin, thanks for the correction on that one. Washington,
so 6-7.
Yeah, Washington was 6-7, and then they lost 2-1-1 to finish 7-9 there. So it wasn't quite 6-6; it was 6-7.
That Philly game,
Justin, on the correction.
Yeah, that Philly game was started by Hurts, right? Like maybe it was his very first start, and then they brought in the guy who used to be the third stringer in Washington,
Stidham, right?
Oh, what is it?
Wasn't Stidham, STID ham?
No, you're thinking of Garrett Stidham? No.
Yeah, was it not him? Who
was that? He was the third rounder that they drafted out of Indiana. Yam should know, because he was an Indiana guy that they drafted in like the 7th round the year before. The Washington did.
I barely remember this morning, let alone 3 years ago.
And he was
QB we played.
he was just god awful, and Washington ended up winning that game and then making the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see if Yam is still in here and he can remind us who that quarterback was. But yeah, so yeah, they did kind of backdoor in by winning that last game, even though everyone else was just
so bad, so bad that year. So one of the things I've heard, not just the talk Stoner on how Harris needs to be more aggressive, but now people are kind of turning. We're 5 games in and we're already turning on the ownership group. Nate Sudfeld, that's the one.
That's the one. Thanks, Jam.
Yeah,
I knew
it was an S name. Samsonite.
Yeah,
I'm so close, so close. The what's baffling to me, I mentioned it at the start, Stoner. We're 2-3. People are treating us like, treating our own team here as if we're 0-5, and that goes on turning on the ownership, right? Like there's already talk of, he's not been aggressive enough, and then to further that by analyzing him watching the games. He's up there in the owner's suite having a good time, chatting and laughing as Washington's getting shellacked by the Bears, and people took umbrage with that.
Yeah.
How about you? Was there a problem with the way he was, enjoying himself?
Before I answer, let me turn it back on you. I want to hear what you have to say about that, what you thought.
No. Why? Why would it? No. We do talk about all the time how you want to fan, right? We're not going to fan police you.
Yeah.
We end the show with be a fan.
Yeah.
Like he's not even a fan, really. I mean, he talked about, I grew up being Redskins fan and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you're up north with a couple of different teams in different areas, right? You're a businessman. And I get Phil, our Philly fan, who's talked to us about how he's not aggressive, right? He's more in for the profit. He's just had a sold out stadium. That's what he cares about. He's a fan of that. And he's good. It's not to say that he won't care about the product on the field by the end of the season. But Washington, it was going to finish that game 2-3 on the season. Plenty of season left. And he has a product that he knows is going to make him a lot of money. I don't think there's a problem with how he's celebrating. Just like I don't have a problem with the players. There's a bunch of malarkey about this too. The players walking to their family members, and Logan Thomas was, heard a joke from his friend and was laughing. And some people were upset about that. I don't know who these people are. There was some malarkey of people posting about it. And thankfully, everybody else was just like, that's the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
They're players. They're able to enjoy their family time. They're able to laugh with their family after a loss.
Yeah.
The team, for what it's worth, the players have been saying, they had a bunch of conversations today with the media, Stoner, and they were all saying the right things, right? They're all trying to take accountability. There's the godforsaken sign that's up on the locker room door.
Yeah, it's a brand new sign.
Is that going to fix things?
No. That was a little bit curious to me. If you want to put that up at the beginning of the year, whatever, do your job. Do your job, but not in the middle of a 3-game slide. Yeah.
Do your job. My question was that in the coach's room as well?
Well, it's into the locker room, with the coach's room's inside there somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. But yeah, I knew when you put that you said, is that in the coach's room? So yeah, that was kind of like a jab at the coaches. Eric, I'm going to go, shocker, I'm going to go quite the opposite with you on this. I have a problem. I have a serious problem with Josh Harris smoking and joking up there when his product on the field is getting their ass kicked 20-3 in the first half. I got a serious problem with that. Culture is built from the top down. We know that. We just experienced 25 years of a guy creating a culture into this organization of toxicity. We're going to sit around. I'm going to hire all my buddies. We're going to smoke and joke, and we're going to drink Coors Light in the office, and we're going to take photos and videos of all the women, and we're going to make music videos, and we're going to pass it around, and we're going to create this environment of a good old boys party atmosphere for the entire organization. And that trickles downward. It doesn't, Josh Harris up there smoking and joking while you're getting your butt kicked is not going to affect whether or not Gibby fumbles the ball or Sam Howell throws an interception or a touchdown versus a touchdown. It doesn't have a direct effect on the play on the field at that time, but it sets the tone for an entire organization. I want my owner to be emotionally invested on the team that's on the field for those 4 hours once a week, 17 times a year at least, hopefully more, and emotionally invested on everything that's going on that field. And Magic Johnson, when you get a shot of Magic Johnson during that game, he's ticked off.
Yep.
And after the game, he's saying, that's unacceptable what I saw out there. You can't do that. That's what I want from my owner, Nathan. I want him to create an atmosphere that the only thing that's acceptable is winning, not losing. Losing is unacceptable, and nobody should be happy about it, including the guy at the very top. I want him to be pissed. I don't need him throwing stuff or, let's not go to the extreme, because people were saying, what do you want him to do? You want him to be breaking TVs and get all pissed off? No, I want him to look down there and I want him to be mad. I want him to feel the pain that you and I and everybody who's in this chat watching and listening, they feel that pain. I want my owner to feel that so that he makes changes.
That's fair.
Not just stand up there and just, I'm making $2 billion today and I'm going to have a good time while my team's getting their ass kicked on the field. I don't want that. Just
to note that the previous guy,
yes,
he was emotionally invested.
Yes.
That didn't impact the field in a positive way.
Right. That is true. But the culture that he created, not just emotionally invested, but the culture that he created with the team is we're just going to kind of have a good time, and I don't really care about all that other stuff. And I want Josh Harris to say, we're going to create an environment that winning is the only thing that matters. Like Magic Johnson, anytime you hear Magic Johnson talk, he talks all about winning is all that matters. Nothing else matters. You have to be committed from the very top all the way down to the 15th guy on the bench in basketball. And I'll be honest, I did have a little bit of a problem with the players smoking and joking after the game. I had a problem with that because, let me just ask you this. When you see, for example, I'm going to give an example because these guys are more visible than football players are. When you see Steph Curry getting their butts kicked, you don't see him smoking and joking. You will never see that with NBA players because they know better, because they know the cameras are on them at all times, and they'll be sitting at the bench just stoic, just mad. Now they get up and they dap each other and they'll do a little smiling and everything, but they won't be laughing and carrying on and all that other stuff in a game that they got their butts kicked. That's a culture thing. I don't think it's a huge deal that Logan Thomas is over there with his family and laughing and all. I don't think it's a huge deal, but understand the optics of that as well, that people are going to see that and they're not going to be okay with it. Do that away from the field, away from the cameras, if you're going to do that. But you know who you don't see doing that, Nathan? Who don't you see doing that? From
the
Washington.
Coaches?
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
John Allen. Jeremy Reeves. Guys like that who put it all out there and who are leaders of the team, they're pissed off when they go back into the locker room. They're pissed. They don't want to go up into the stands and goof around because winning is super important to them. That's why they got that C on their chest. And that's what I want from my players, from my coaches, from my front office people, to all the way up to my owner. I want that owner to set the tone for the entire organization and say, we're not putting up with this losing crap anymore. And if you're not not with it, you're out.
Okay.
There, I had my say on that.
Stoner,
and I know
Stoner
everyone
on a
won't agree
Stoner
with me,
rant. Not yet. You had several people agreeing with you in the chat on that one. And there's a couple people like Gus here saying that a little bit of a reach. Let him be a good host. On
you
his
could be a host for the other. How many hours are in a week?
First primetime game.
How many hours are in a week? Does anybody know off the top of their head? You're 7 days a
24
week.
24 times 7.
Yeah, whatever that is. Do the math. 1,400. I don't know. 100 and some odd hours. There's 4 hours during the game. Take that time, and you can do your hosting and all that other stuff. But you got 4 hours on the game that's going on in the field, your product, that's your organization. And if they're getting their butts kicked, you should be pissed off about it during those 4 hours. And if you want to do all your hosting and all that other stuff, go back behind some closed doors or something if you want to do it. Don't have the camera on you while you're laughing and joking it up while your team's getting your butt kicked. I guarantee if you put the camera on Magic during that game, he's not laughing and goofing around.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable to Magic Johnson. And I need it to be unacceptable to Josh Harris.
Not disagreeing. And Josh Harris, I was trying to look for, there we go. They were from Joshua. Josh Harris specifically said he was concerned about the stadium possibly not being sold out like these past couple of home games.
Should be.
And that is something that winning games will fix, right? Like when you have a winning, we've seen it with our content, right? The difference between a winning week and a losing week could be thousands of views, right? If not even more. By the way, the number 168, that's from Gus Luza.
I'm asking for 4. I'm asking for 4 hours. If your team is up 20-3, I want to see you up there laughing and holding your little cup, you're boozing and all that. Cool. But that's when you're up. If you're not, you should know better. You should not be sitting there smoking and joking in front of the whole world to see. And that gives the impression to everybody else that Josh Harris doesn't care what's going on in the field. And therefore, the Commanders don't care, and the fans shouldn't care, and the players shouldn't care. The culture is set from the top. Don't you all forget that.
Ron Rivera setting the culture as well. And Washington 2-3 as they head down to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. And we will be talking about the game. We're just going to get to more of the things to fix. We're just going to put them in the context of the Atlanta Falcon games. Stay with us now as I find the right.
The game is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 5 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
Joshua, we would 100% have Josh Harris on the show. We know there are some people from the organization who watch us, so maybe you hook us up. Probably not going to happen, but hey, you never know. Dubs family, if you're not a serious boss, you won't have serious workers. Kind of in line there with what you're talking about. Stoner, Commandees, no, too early for that. We'll save game predictions for later. Commandees, we're about to be 2-4 after 4 p.m. on Sunday. We'll talk about how Washington can get there. And one of the ways that they're going to get their Stoner is the QB play and just kind of the overall talent here with Commandees saying we have too many pups on this team and not enough wolves, and then puts the wolf emotion. So we got to have a little howling going on here. Specifically, our young wolf needs to perform at a level that's going to win games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's really only had one stinker all year, right? The Buffalo game. Outside of that, he's played reasonably well. He's actually 6th in passing yards, and I think 12th in completion percentage. That's what I want to say off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And we have TJ here. What's bringing up CJ Stroud, who has been performing, I think, better than most people expected out there in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And then saying Sam Howell's struggling. And TJ, I kind of take umbrage with that because I don't think he's struggling necessarily. I do think that there are aspects of his game that are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall he's doing fairly well. In fact, friend of the channel, Colin Dunphy, big fan of the EPA is Colin, and he looked at it and he was just like, Sam Howell would be a top 10 QB if he can limit his sacks to an average amount, and looks at it. And he was like, if you just remove the sacks from his Sam Howell's record, he is a top 10 QB with his EPA, his efficiency. He's moving the ball downfield and he's doing good. He just has these sacks. Colin even went as far as to just not just take away the sacks, but put in an incompletion. What if Sam Howell just threw away the ball
instead of a sack?
Instead of taking the sack. And he's top 15 QB. And Stoner, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. We talked at it at the beginning of last season. You get mediocre quarterback play, and this team with the defense playing the way that we know that they can play, not the way that they have been playing, but the way that they could play. This is a team that's going to make the playoffs. What do you think needs to be fixed with Sam Howell?
I'll be completely honest. Now, I agree with most of everything you said. I don't think he's necessarily struggling. I think he's going through what a lot of first-year quarterbacks go through. But I don't think he's struggling. I don't think he's been great either. There's some things he's really, really got to work on, and it is a lot of his decision-making. It just seems like sometimes he's coming off his first reads too fast. Sometimes he's just holding the ball too long, waiting for a deeper read to come open and not just dumping it off. There's just a lot of things that he's doing that you would expect from a second-year guy that he's got to get better at. And those things that he's doing, not coming off his first read or coming off his first read too fast, all these things, these are ending up in sacks. And sacks are not just a stat. Sacks are drive killers. Sacks are getting your defense back out there a lot quicker than they should, because you can't sustain a drive as long as you want to. So he's got to fix those for the sake not only of the offense, but for the sake of the defense. The offense helps the defense by sustaining longer drives. And a sack pretty much kills just about any drive. I don't know what the stats are. Somebody's probably got a stat of how many drives end in touchdowns and where there was a sack. It's probably very, very low.
Yeah.
So he's got to figure that part out of his game. He's got to figure out how it's okay to dump it down for a 3-yard gain. It's okay because you see those guys open. It's okay to take a shot to somebody downfield that is not necessarily your first read. But he's got to figure all of these things out, or else he's going to find himself at the end of the year with a new regime coming in, possibly being cast aside for, a top 5 pick or something like that. A new regime comes in, they may say Sam Howell's not our guy if he continues on this particular path. He's got some good stats, but he doesn't have some of the things that they need him to do in order to be even better to help everybody out.
I love this line here from Gus. Howell plays every down as if it were 3rd and long.
Yeah.
And I can see that. I can see that. And that it kind of harkens back to what I said I didn't like about the previous guy who is on our screen right now, who is not starting, by the way. I saw that comment up in there earlier. I just couldn't resist putting an old Washington player up there. Desmond Ridder is going to get the start. In fact, Desmond Ridder had his best game of the season last week. But what I said of Taylor Heineke was that every play is a desperation play with Taylor Heineke. It took a while before Taylor Heineke kind of grew into this, player who could kind of manage a little bit better, because when he first played, and that's one of the things that people loved about him, was he's just like, he's running around out there and he's just like trying to sling the ball into these tight spots and everything. And that's why I got frustrated with him. One of the things I think that is going to be beneficial, Stoner, for Sam Howell in this regard is he is getting a lot of reps. QB is a position where the more reps you get, the more opportunities you have to improve, right? So I think we're seeing him early on, like we saw when Taylor Heineke first kind of came to Washington. Every play was that desperation play with Taylor Heineke. Every play is 3rd and long to Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as he gets more reps and he sees this and he learns from it, I think he's going to get better. Now, I know you and several of our listeners, one of those things they listed on there that Washington needs to fix for this upcoming game against the Atlanta Falcons was they need to run the ball.
Yes.
Take it out of Sam Howell's hands and put it into Bijan Robinson so he can win the battle of the BRobs.
Right.
Now,
I was just going to say it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me to think that this offense right now, the way it's been going right now, you take a young quarterback. Again, it's his first year starting. I know he had a lot of starts in North Carolina. This is a different animal. He's his first year starting. You have an offensive line that anybody not named Nathan thought was going to be terrible. Nathan predicted, I believe, a top 10 offensive line.
I said Eric Bieniemy is I think I probably did. That was one of my bold season predictions.
Your bold. Right. Everybody
Bieniemy can scheme this. And if you look, depending on your metrics, I was looking at one earlier today, Stoner.
Okay. I'd love to hear this.
The
tackles, this is something to do with running. Okay.
The tackles, that's actually pass protection. The line is actually a lot better in pass protection than you would think, given the fact that they've given up the lead in sacks, right? But Charles Leno is right there with Trent Williams, and these individual metrics which were both. I wish I could pull it up real quick here. I should have bookmarked it, but it was winning in pass protection. They were right on top of each other, and then the number of double teams that they get assisted with, right? So, like if Charles Leno is often out on an island on his own, and he's actually one of the better pass blockers for protection. And Wiley, a guy who we've seen completely ignore oncoming rushers, was also fairly well in both regards in the same factor there. So I'm just saying the line needs some work. I'm not oblivious to that. But
I think
they also had a 7 yards per average rusher a few games ago, right? Like they have their opportunities.
I think Sam Cosmi is the only guard in the league that has gone the entire season without giving up a sack. He's gone 234 consecutive snaps without giving up a snap. If you watch Sam Cosmi,
he lined up in front of Jalen Carter, so you can't tell me he hasn't played against strong competition.
Yeah, if you watch a lot of tape on Sam Cosmi, he has actually been very good. Yeah. This other stuff about the other guys you were talking about and these numbers, I don't believe him. Because I've seen the tape. I've seen how bad Wiley's been. I've seen how bad Nick Gates has been. And I've seen Sadiq Charles struggle quite a bit as well. Leno has been pretty decent from what I've seen, and Sam Cosmi has been excellent, actually. He's been very, very good.
Sam Cosmi's been absolute baller out there in right guard. But you're right. Leno, by the way, is always going to be he's a starting left tackle in this league.
Yeah.
He might be the 20th best left tackle.
Right.
Maybe even the 30th, but he's a starting left tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's always going to be there. He's played 10 consecutive years without missing a game. So you can always count on Charles Leno to be there. But we know, going back to the original point, is that you've got a second-year quarterback, you've got a less than stellar line, and your game plan, game in and game out, is to come out and just throw the ball. Last game against Chicago was a little bit of an anomaly in that they dropped back 55 consecutive times, the most ever in the PFF era, which I think is from 2005 or 2006. Most consecutive times drop back. That's insane to me. You're down 40-20 with 3 minutes to go in the game, and you just keep throwing them back there, throwing passes. Anyway, it's just odd that has been your game plan, and you're 2-3, and you've been down at the half in 4 out of your 5 games. You got to change that. That style is not working. They have to change what they've been doing. You just can't keep doing that to Sam Howell, to the offense, and as I've said before, to the defense. The lack of sustained drives, the lack of holding on to the ball is what causes the defense to be out there longer. And if they're already struggling, you don't want to keep putting them back out there time and time again. Last year, when they went on their streak of all those games, it's because they started running the ball and controlling the clock. It's what they did to Philadelphia when Philadelphia was 10-0, and we went into Philadelphia and beat them at their house because we controlled the ball for 40 minutes or something, whatever the number. It was like 40-20 or close to it. That's the way we talk about all this new age football and everything. You control the line of scrimmage, whether it's on offense or on defense. That's how you win ball games. They've got to get away from throwing the ball so much. They just have to do that with Sam Howell, especially.
I just don't think we're ever going to see that, right? Like, it's never going to be a thing that they do. I think that when you look at, I'm trying to quickly bring up some opportunities here for Kansas City's offense, which Eric Bieniemy is bringing to Washington. Okay.
Yes.
So we know,
and I've got the counter, but go ahead.
Okay, you do have a counter. Okay.
Yeah. Before you even say anything.
Okay.
I mean, or after, I've got the counter.
My question when I'm looking up and trying to rush to kind of look up here is the passing to rushing per game. Did Kansas City in the last 2 years ever have a game where it was a disproportionate rush to pass ratio? We know that they pass the ball. They're one of the top teams that pass the ball. Of course, they have a guy, you might have heard of him, Patrick Mahomes. But have they had a game in the last 2 years with, probably a big lead out there that they've had such a disproportionate rush to pass ratio?
Yeah, probably not. And we did a little bit of research. It was like after the first 3 games, and we compared what the rush to pass ratio was for an entire season, not game by game. And Washington's rush to pass ratio was less than Kansas City's rush to pass ratio, meaning Washington was throwing the ball more than Kansas City was, which doesn't make sense when you have Sam Howell and the opposite end, you have Patrick Mahomes.
Except it does, because Patrick Mahomes, you probably have a winning, team, right? You have a lead, so where you can run the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Howell has been forced to play from behind a lot more because both the defense and the offense haven't been gelling as much as we would like. So it does make sense, Stoner, that Sam Howell's going to have pass more. Similarly to how Kirk Cousins has a lot of the league leading passing stats right now. Well, hello.
They've been behind the whole time.
They've been behind almost every game.
Sure. Yeah. When you talk about the bigger numbers, the passing numbers, yes. But if you just look at the first half of these games, we've been harping on it since game one. The first half, they just come out, throw. And then next thing you know, you're behind. And now you got to continue throwing. And maybe if you would just run the ball more, then you wouldn't fall behind and you wouldn't have to throw the ball so much. It all comes back to controlling that line of scrimmage. And if you can control the line of scrimmage by running the ball, then it makes passing easier. And it makes so that you're not behind all the time. It always comes back to running the bleeping ball. I knew you weren't ready, so I went ahead and just said bleeping.
I mean, you could have slowed your roll a little bit, but understood on that.
Just start running the ball more. 6 rushes. I don't care how far behind you are. 6 rushes for an entire game in the NFL is obscene. It's malpractice. It's a way that it gets coaches fired. Now, it's not going to get EB fired because, everybody thinks he's the second coming. But 6 rushes in an NFL game. I mean, I don't even think back when Mike Leach was at Texas Tech and they had Patrick Mahomes there and they were throwing the ball all over the place. I don't think they only had 6 rushes in a game. I mean, it's crazy to me to think that they went 6-51.
I doubt we're going to see that again. And we're going to talk more Sam Howell in a little bit. In fact, we have a fun little trivia thing that we'll put up on the screen and have everybody take a look at as far as that's going to go. So, but I do want to move to those other things Washington's going to need to fix to win against Atlanta. And Command D's taking our next one here in the comment section. Our defense needs to switch from man coverage.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of seeing burnt toast. This is a change that Jack Del Rio has kind of brought, right? So they drafted 2 young corners who are known to be aggressive and collect turnovers. And they're trying to play more aggressive on the defensive back side, right? They've been aggressive. They've just been missing those opportunities. So what's been resulting is more plays have been getting behind the team. The team's strength last year was a zone defense and keeping everything in front of them. And then allowing that offense to make a mistake. And now they're trying to, I think, do too much. Do you think Coach Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio have talked? They've talked about what they could potentially do to kind of fix things. Do you think we're going to see more zone play this game against Atlanta?
Well, number one, zone play is not Emmanuel Forbes's preferred style of playing. So why you drafted him if that's not his best style? It's kind of like the William Jackson thing.
Yeah, I actually think that Forbes is a zone guy, and that the move to man is what's been detrimental to him because he gets beat on double moves.
Yeah, right.
If you're playing zone, you don't necessarily have to worry about that because your zone is in one area.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Here's a tangible reason why Jack Del Rio probably should have been let go. After Chicago played Denver, the Bears came out and said in the first half of that game when Chicago went up 28-7, I believe was the score against Denver. This is prior to the Washington game. They were just throwing the ball all over on Denver, just left and right and everything. Denver was playing man-to-man most of the time. This is Chicago telling everybody in the interviews afterwards. And then Denver switched to a matchup zone or a 2-deep zone, whatever they were doing. They switched to a zone. And then Fields couldn't figure that out. So why in the hell knowing that, or at least being smart enough as a defensive coordinator to be able to watch the tape and knowing that Justin Fields cannot throw into zone coverages, why would you come out in man-to-man? So the whole point of that is, if they didn't know that for Chicago, why are they all of a sudden going to learn that for Atlanta? Which they should. They should know that they should be playing a lot more zone. Most teams play more zone than they do man nowadays because of the quarterbacks have gotten so good that, and the receivers are so good that they're just going to get burnt in man. So they have to play more of a zone coverage more often than not. So why Washington is doing this man-to-man, I'll never know. Because Chicago proved the week before. So they need to figure that out this week. Now, I got a little hint for you. I think they do figure it out this week. And they do play more zone. And they don't get beat for those long plays. You know, they lead the league. They've had 15, 25 air yard plays made on them. That's number 1 or number 32, however you want to look at. Worst in the league. They've had 15, 25 plus yard plays on them. And 5 of those have gone for touchdown, which is like third. They're giving up huge plays. They have to make a change. Stop with the man-to-man and play more zone. And that's on Jack Del Rio and Ron to figure out. Hopefully they do. I think they will, but they didn't against Chicago, which bugs me.
So several people had commented that defensive play calling and scheme had to be changed. On that one there, Kevin on our Twitter said, get chunk plays, kind of the opposite of what you're talking about. In Washington, been giving up chunk plays. Washington also needs to get chunk plays. Yeah. Do you agree with Kevin in that aspect of, you know, maybe you are going to go, you particularly kind of run the ball guy, you know, kind of 3 yards, pile of dirt, all that other stuff, get first downs and collect and do the time possession game. How about getting big chunk plays as a tool to success against the Dirty Birds?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can control that line of scrimmage and you can establish a run game, and it doesn't have to be like super successful, it just has to be established that you are going to run the ball and force the defense to react to that. Then that will open up those chunk plays on offense. That'll open it up more for Terry and Jahan and even De'Ami Brown. So, yeah, I think that is also going to help the defense to stop the chunk plays. Again, the offense being out there longer gives them more opportunities to make adjustments, to get the rest that they need, all of that good stuff. So, yeah. Absolutely. I agree with that. Who's that? Kevin, you said? Kevin?
Yep. Kevin is going to answer that one. Code Talker. Yeah. The team moved away from the straight zone concept and it's been playing man to start the season. One of the reasons why Washington's not been doing not doing so well. I loved the absolute sage play angry, but don't get sloppy. Washington on penalties, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like Washington's doing okay there, but they haven't been playing really hard-nosed football and playing angry outside of one Chase Young, who I think has been playing at a level that we expected him to be. Maybe, you know, he can step it up a notch. He's has 3 sacks in 3 games. He's you know, tied for 4th in pressures in the NFL. He's one of the best pass rushing ratios in the NFL as well. How can this defensive front, the K9s, the first rounders that we have, do better on the defensive front, as that was one of our other answers?
I have some good news for all those who want some good news going into this Atlanta game. The last 4 games that they've played, basically other than the Arizona game, they have played against very mobile quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and then Justin Fields. their game plan, at least to my eyes, I don't have any proof of this. Their game plan was to keep those guys in the pocket and was not to get out of any rushing lanes and to just basically go straight up and even hang back a little bit in case that quarterback does run. I just didn't see the aggressiveness from Daron Payne and John Allen at most of the time. Sometimes you would see that. And it just felt to me that they were doing that to keep those quarterbacks in the pocket. They said, look, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me through the air. Well, they did. But the point is that they were laying back a little bit. And I think you're going to see a different style. You're going to see a lot more attacking on this Atlanta offense. Those guys, I think, are going to live in the backfield of Atlanta. Now, Atlanta has a pretty good offensive line, but I don't believe when our defensive line is at the top of their game that there's really only a few offensive lines that can stop them. Even Philadelphia really can't stop them that well when they're playing at the top. Now, I think San Francisco can, just because I think Trent Williams is the best offensive lineman I've ever seen in my lifetime anyway. But I think you're going to see a completely different style of defense in this game for Washington.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder, by the way, has 18 rushes on the season for 57 yards, 10 of those coming in week 2, and then kind of sprinkled throughout, gaining 39 yards on those 10. But last week, like we said, Desmond Ridder having his best game of the season, which is why I think he struggled one more time. Maybe you had seen Taylor Heineke come in for this game against his former team, but he ran four times for 10 yards. More importantly, he passed 28 for 37 for 329 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. So Desmond Ridder not doing as well as a QB as what Atlanta would like him to do. In fact, a friend of mine who is an Atlanta fan messaged me and was just like, well, at least we got our answer on Desmond Ridder. So if Desmond Ridder is not the QB that's going to beat you in the air, and I do think that he's going to have a letdown game after having his best game of the season, who on the Atlanta side is the defense going to have to kind of square up against?
Well, obviously, Bijan Robinson is an all-world talent, and he does it not only from the running back, from running the ball, but he's an excellent pass catcher as well. He's their third leading receiver on the team. He doesn't have any touchdowns running the ball, but he has 2 touchdowns receiving. And Desmond Ridder only has 4 passing touchdowns. He's got 2 to his backs, and then he's got 2 to Drake London. Drake London's a problem. Okay, they're going to have to do whatever they can on Drake London. I don't think their other receivers are that great, but they do have 2 excellent tight ends in Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith. So and when you have 2 really good tight ends and your running back are 3 of your best receivers, that's a quarterback who's doing a lot of checkdowns, doing a lot of the short stuff. So I don't think they have the capability to have big plays other than possibly Bijan Robinson having some sort of screen pass or some sort of big run. They're not an explosive offense. They only score 16.5 points a game, which is way, way down. I think it's 20 Atlanta offense, 27th in the league at 16.6 points per game. So they're not explosive. Desmond Ridder played out of his mind last week. That's his best game of his life, basically. And he had he led them on a nice drive. But you got to be aware of Bijan Robinson. You got to be aware of not just Kyle Pitts, but Jonnu Smith is a very good tight end as well. And then Drake London. I tell you, he's a beast. And I think this is only his second year, right? Wasn't he in
Drake London was drafted last year. Yep. He was a top 10. Yep. Top 10 pick there by the Atlanta Falcons last year.
But I mean, Desmond Ridder's not great. Okay. He's got 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's been sacked 16 times. He's not a threat to run. You just have to control their run game. And really their run game has been Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algiers is a up the middle kind of guy. He hasn't done a whole lot. He's only averaging like 3 yards a carry, whereas Bijan is carrying the ball all over the place. So he's their big threat. Stop Bijan Robinson, you stop the Atlanta Falcons. And again, they're not explosive. So you don't have to really concern yourself with these explosive plays. Now, the Bears aren't supposed to be explosive, and they were just, throwing bombs all over the place. But I believe this is a totally different defensive scheme that they're going to have this week, and they are going to attack Desmond Ridder and cause havoc all night in the backfield.
One hopes that's the case, because this is right here what scares the bejeebies out of me. Tommy T saying Barton covering Bijan scares me. Yeah,
Cam Curl might be covering him.
You can't have Cody Barton covering anybody. Cody Barton's been having a disastrous season. You pulled Forbes, the rookie, for having a bad couple of games. You just signed up another linebacker to your 53. Something's got to happen, because Cody Barton is not the player he was last season.
Yeah.
He's not fitting in well here, and it's been an absolute disaster. How can they protect that middle of the field? Do you expect more Cam Curl, some more Jamin Davis?
Yeah.
Or are we going to just try to trust that Cody Barton's going to turn things around and cover? Yeah. Because there was some Seattle people who apparently haven't been following Cody Barton this year. I saw a tweet that somebody from Seattle was like, Seattle needs to figure out a way to bring Cody Barton back.
Right.
Because they're having their own issues at linebacker and tackling. So they haven't been paying attention to how bad he's been this season.
It's just like Washington has got this seller's remorse with Cole Holcomb. Okay, we all know what Cole Holcomb is. We don't need Cole Holcomb back here either, right? And Cody Barton is probably a little bit worse, but let's not go begging for Cole Holcomb. He wasn't that great. The problem with Cody Barton is that he's a super smart linebacker, and he's pretty physical linebacker. He's just not talented. And when you have that intelligence there and you put the green dot on him and he's the guy that calls the defense, it's hard to get rid of him. It's hard to get him out of here, especially when his backup is David Mayo, who's basically Cody Barton part 2. He's smart.
A slower Cody Barton for sure.
But he's smart. He understands the defense. He understands where everybody needs to be. But then when the play happens, they just don't have the talent to be able to do what's necessary for a successful defensive series. So I don't know what they're going to do, because now you've lost Derek Forrest, who was back there as as a safety. So you're probably going to put Percy Butler there. Then you got to bring in Quan Martin. Is Quan Martin the guy who's going to be covering Bijan Robinson? Quan Martin with all of, let's see, how many snaps? 0 defensive snaps all year, and all of a sudden you're going to put him on, the NFC Rookie of the Year probably in Bijan. So that's a problem. That's going to be a problem covering these guys. Keep them in front of you. Don't let them have those explosive plays.
Jeffrey giving us all the credit here said, you guys need to stop the podcast. Y'all jinx every single player you talk about. Get this off the air. Jinxed. I'm not sure, Jeffrey. Who did we jinx?
Maybe we did like the jinx, like we talked about how bad Justin Fields was and how DJ Moore is just an average receiver.
Could be. Oh my goodness. I wish we had that power, Jeffrey. If we really did have that level of power, we would be using it for good.
Yeah. We would.
But we don't have that kind of power out here on Ref the District. But we do appreciate you listening here. One of my favorite answers was from Tim Meek on what to fix.
Yeah.
And he responded, their confidence.
Yeah.
What is Washington's confidence level going into this game against Atlanta?
I actually really believe that their confidence level is going to be pretty high. They're sitting in there watching the tape of the Atlanta Falcons, and they're not coming out very impressed because, again, of their lack of explosiveness. And, like I said, maybe Desmond Ridder comes out and throws 3 bombs to Drake London all of a sudden, but I just don't see it happening. So I think they're going to go into the game confident. I think they're going to go in with an attitude, with aggressiveness. They're going to have a different game plan for attacking the quarterback. And they know, and I said this earlier in the week, they know that their coaching staff's jobs are pretty much on the line. And they have a lot of respect for Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. They're going to play hard for those guys. They do not want to be the ones that get their coaches fired in the middle of the season. That's embarrassing for professional guys who care about their team, that their coach gets fired. It's embarrassing for John Allen if Jack Del Rio gets fired because of John Allen's play on the field. Jack Del Rio's not lost that locker room. Ron Rivera's not lost that locker room. You haven't heard any sort of whispers, or nobody's going to the media, anonymously and making statements about Jack Del Rio this, that's not happening. When that happens, then they've lost the locker room and they've lost the respect of the coach. So I think they're going to be pretty confident going into this game, and I think it will affect their play on the field, and you're going to see a different defense against Atlanta.
One of the things I brought it up at the beginning was just how well the players were talking today to the media. And a lot of it was inward looking. One of those things I also noticed about that, Stoner, was what you're talking about. There's a solidarity within that unit.
Yeah.
Within that team.
I believe that.
Within that coaching staff. Right. They very much, when they hear this outside noise of somebody attacking one of their players or attacking their coaches, they are bonded by it. Not a huge fan of this kind of mentality where you need it to be you versus the world. You have to play as the underdog, because I want Washington to be the team people are looking at like, oh, we need to look up to them. This is our measuring stick. Right. Yeah. But right now, Washington isn't quite there. So this kind of mentality that they have right now, where it is they're bonding together and they're going to give people. We had Jonathan Allen last year. Keep that same energy. Now we've got to sign up in the locker room, do your job.
Yeah.
Do you think the team is going to be, more solid now? 3-game losing streak. You lost 2 to 2 really good teams. Then you went in and you laid a stinker at home against a team everyone expected you to beat. Now you go to Atlanta and you're dogs to Atlanta.
Yeah.
They are dogs to Atlanta. You just can't have that. And so I do think that mentality is going to help Washington bounce back here against Atlanta. A little spoiler alert. Allison with a great question I wanted to get to here. And of course, if you have a good question for us or want to add to the conversation, feel free to make that comment. But don't forget to hit that like button before you do that. And if you haven't already, sub up to the channel. Allison here, biggest Washington weakness on offense and defense.
Yeah.
I'll go first, Stoner, and because I'm going to just give 2 names, and then you can expand on however you would like. Offense, Nick Gates. Defense, Cody Barton.
Next question.
I'm going to say the exact same thing. Right? It's the right answer. Cody Barton is by far the biggest weakness on defense. And on offense, we knew we were going to miss Chase Roulier. Right? He hasn't been healthy enough to continue playing. Right?
Yeah, he even retired.
Went as far as to retire. But even just having, and it's not that Nick Gates, I'm not trying to dog him too much, but the level of play he's not bringing the intelligence we're used to at center, and he's not bringing necessarily strength at center.
Right.
I do appreciate what he brings in character and his mentality of just wanting to be a nasty offensive lineman. I love that. I love that he gets after guys. I love that he's almost always the first person picking up Bijan Robinson or Sam Howell. He's always the first one who's in the face of his opponents when they've done something he knows that he needs to stand up for. Kind of the opposite of the defensive side, the defensive weakness. Cody Barton, who had his player absolutely body slammed on the ground and just looks at them. And Cody Barton, we've talked enough about Cody Barton. He is definitely by far the big weakness in there. And that is going to be one of those scary things in the front there. If you have a different answer, please put that in the thing. Biggie, I love this. I asked this before the Chicago game. Dick Butkus had died And I said, is this going to be a boost to Chicago? Stoner told me no, Biggie.
No.
He said that's not the case. Biggie here saying Butkus was the reason Chicago won. No one could have beat them that night with the Hall of Fame Butkus passing. I mean, anybody would have lost that night. It's possible.
Yeah,
a little Butkus magic, but that's about as likely as Ref the District jinxing the team. So I think it's time to bring up the trivia.
Okay.
So let me bring this over here.
Yeah, and we'll ask everybody in the who's here in the chat watching live. We're gonna ask the answer. Ask them if they know the answer to this particular question. Can you blow that up at all?
I'm going to try. I might have to remove it and then blow it up, and then we'll share it after zoomed a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. I can see it in the background there.
Yeah. So
perfect.
Bring it over this way. Nope, we're going to keep it. One of these is going to work better than what I have. All right. Remove, add it. There we go. We're just going to keep it on this side because the other one's messed up for a DCU. All right. 3 Washington QBs in their first full year as starter after 5 games. Yep. Sam Howell, 2-3. Team with 131 for 109, a 68 passing percentage, 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown, 86 QB rating, 29 sacks. All right. We have 2 mystery QBs here for you.
Yep.
Mystery QB A was 3-2 with the team as the team record. 55%, almost 56% of his passes completed, 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown, an 80.9 QB rating with 17 sacks. And then QB B was 2-3 as well, like Sam. 62.8% of the completion, only 1,268 yards, 8 touchdowns, though, 6 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown, 84.2 QB rating, 5 sacks. Can you name either A or B in the chat?
I thought it was interesting. I think all 3 of those are very similar. I think really the biggest difference might be completions percentage, but the yards, the touchdowns, the interceptions, the QB rating, the team's record, all of that were very, very similar. And really, Sam Howell had them both on completion percentage, but also in the number of times he dropped back. And we all know how many times he's dropped back in those 5 games. But somebody in there actually got one of them correct already.
Yeah,
and I was really surprised.
We do have the right answer in there. We've got some other answers. Biggie saying Mark Brunell, saying Cousins for QB2. TJ with McNabb and Grossman. Darnell saying you like that, which I think you can just barely see right behind me. I have the towel back there.
Yeah.
Stoner has his you like that. The Tommy T saying Alex Smith. Justin with the right answer for one of them, which was
Justin nailed it. Bring that up. Yep.
A is Patrick Ramsey.
Patrick Ramsey. Yeah, absolutely. He was 3-2. All the stats are very similar to what Sam Howell has done. Yards, touchdowns, interceptions, even sacks. He had 17 sacks in 5 games, which is kind of a lot. That's 3.5 a game. That'll get you up there after 16, 17 games, pretty high. But yeah, so Patrick Ramsey turned out to be not that guy.
Yep.
Although his first 5 games, you watched it and you were like, maybe he's that guy. But also he was playing for Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier didn't care 1 iota about an offensive line or protecting his quarterback. And that probably hurt Patrick Ramsey in the long run because he was just under siege all the time. And that was only 17 sacks in 5 games. Now, I think the next game he was sacked like 6 times. So the numbers kept going up. But he just kept getting beat up and beat up and beat up. And eventually he went on, I think, maybe to Denver for a little bit or whatever, and he was out of the league. And I think Spurrier ruined him. because he just had him back there getting beat up. And I'm afraid that's going to happen to to Sam Howell as well.
Patrick Ramsey went to the Jets, then finished out his career in Denver.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think the bigger difference was the completion percentage with Patrick Ramsey, right? Like, just Sam Howell so much more accurate than Patrick Ramsey, but a lot of similarities with those two.
They actually had more yards, more passing yards than Sam Howell. And Sam Howell is what, 6th in the NFL this year in yards, I believe. He's up there pretty high because he's throwing the ball a lot, but Ramsey threw it almost as many times.
A nearly 400-yard game is going to put you up towards the top there this early on the season. No one actually got number 2, and I'm surprised. I even gave a visual clue.
Oh, you did give a visual? Oh, yeah, you did give a
visual clue.
He's right there.
Right there. It's Taylor Heineke. I joked early that I just had to put him up there for our chat here on the rundown.
Yeah.
And but it's also the visual clue to the answer. Was a guy most people loved and fascinated with, right? You have the Hive, who absolutely grew to a guy who was 2 and 3, had decent completion, did have better touchdown to interception ratio. But I remember complaining a lot more about Taylor Heineke's turnover rates. Now, one thing you didn't keep in there were the fumbles. So I'm interested to see how much that would have affected the turnovers. One thing I'll say with Sam Howell is, yes, he's 6 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. You can go as far as to say the rushing touchdowns, so 7 to 6 right now. But we'll just stick with passing. Stick with passing. The fumble.
So it's 7 and 7.
True.
That's what I'm trying to say. If you're going to add the rushing touchdown,
I'm going to stick with 6 and 6 regardless. Okay. All right, I'm going to 6 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
Yep.
If you can't take away the Buffalo game. All right, it happened. Yeah. It was a bad game for Sam Howell. Okay, so you can't take it away. But if you were to have him if that Buffalo game were any other game, let's say this Atlanta game, okay, and we're about to face Buffalo, all right, if we were to look at it that way, he more than likely has a great touchdown to interception ratio. Right. If he was just
for that game, right?
He threw for that game. Sure. So he just, like I said, if you mind wipe it out, he's 6 and 2.
Yeah.
But you can't do that. But I mean, but that's the kind of hope I have for him by the end of the season. I do think he's going to be up there in interceptions. Okay. It's his first year as a starter.
Yeah.
So I would expect in the teens for interceptions. But I think that he's going to continue. We're 5 games in. He's thrown 6 touchdowns. So just over a touchdown per. I do think he's going to end up with not 30 like we originally were very bold to predict. But I do think 20. That he's going to finish with, 24, 25, 27 even, touchdowns.
I'll take the under.
So, I mean, we'll under 24.
Yeah.
We'll put that on this. It's on the chat right now. We've got it. 24 is the over-under for passing touchdowns. By the way, he's on, I believe he would be on pace then, right? 5 games in, he's got a 17 games season, and he's throwing every 5 games, he's throwing an extra one. So 3. Yeah, so that's actually would be right at 20. All right. Yeah. So he's not at 24, but he's gonna pass 20, Stoner.
Okay. I hope
Billy throwing in his 2 cents. Not going to get 27. That might be a far fetch. That one might be a far fetch, but you never know. Maybe he throws 4 touchdowns here against Atlanta. And I'll tell you what, we'll have a lot of bold predictions coming for you here in the cool down. Stick around.
The cool down is brought to you by Manscaped. Ever since my Nathan started using their products, I can't cool down. Fellas, trust me. Go to Manscaped right now and get 20% off and free shipping by using the code REF. Your ladies will appreciate you. Now back to Trev, Stoner, and my Manscaped man, Nathan.
We're back here in the cool down, although I'm slow to change over the rundown there. Now we're in the week 6 predictions for the cool down. And so everyone get your game predictions in the chat, throw in those end of score ones, but also go ahead and throw in some of those bold predictions as well. While those come in here, Stoner and I are going to vamp a little bit on this topic right here. Gus threw in QB rankings for QBs drafted since 2020. Burrow, Herbert, Hurts, Purdy, Stroud, Fields, Pickett, Howell, Love, Ritter.
Gosh, I'm looking at. I don't have any problems with that.
You don't have any problems with that? I mean,
I got no problems. That's nice.
Far too high. I get the team record is winning, and he's been. He's not the 4th best QB drafted since 2020.
Who?
Purdy.
Yeah, you forgot, as Kevin said, you forgot Tua. Tua was drafted in 2020 as well.
So maybe Gus is saying
I would put Tua 4 and then just move everybody down.
Move it down on. Yeah. Ritter being on a top 10 list is a little bit kind of funny there. I think
Gus is number 4. Gus and I thinking alike there.
Yeah. So,
hey, here's a new rule, Nathan. Before you put
Darnell Stroud's too early.
Before you put your prediction, your score prediction, you have to hit the like button.
Got to make sure you've liked this video.
Yeah, you got to hit that like button.
But go ahead and get in those.
I got my prediction.
Those ones in here. Get Big E got a big dub, 228 to -3.
Nice.
That'd be fantastic. Not sure how you get -3 points. He's also wanting to bet you real money on that. Dollar, of course, not real money. So go ahead and give me your score prediction now, Stone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of kind of reasoning why I have this game prediction. If you look at Atlanta, who is 3-2, they're coming off a win against Houston to come from behind, 4th quarter, kick field goal to win the game, 19-17, maybe
21-19.
21-19. Their record, the teams that they've beaten, the record of the teams that they've beaten is 4-11. The record
Carolina, Green Bay, and Houston for the record.
Carolina, Green Bay, and Houston are combined 4-11. The teams that they've lost to, which is Detroit and who's the other?
Jacksonville.
Detroit and Jacksonville, they're 7-3. Okay, so they've lost to the good teams. They've beaten the bad teams. This is what Washington should have done so far. Washington should be 3-2. They're not that good of a team. They have a -13 in their point differential.
Yeah. I was just looking at that. Even their wins is only +17.
Yeah.
Largely bolstered by the Carolina victory where they won 24-10. And Carolina looks god awful. I think Frank Reich is done as a head coach after this season.
Wow.
If he even lasts the season.
Atlanta is also a -3 in turnovers. Turnover ratio, they're a -3. They're scoring 16.6 points per game. That's 27th in the league. Now I get it. Washington, on the other hand, is giving up 32 points per game. They're a -5 in turnover ratio. I don't know what their point differential is, but I know it's not good when you lose 40-20 and 37-3 and 2 wins are squeakers.
Yeah.
So their point differential is really bad. I get all that. What I'm trying to say is Atlanta is not that good. Atlanta is this year what the New York Giants were last year. They're kind of just beating up bad teams and they're losing to good teams. And they're in a bad division. And they're going to probably end up winning that division with about a 500-ish record, a 9-8 type record. Fine. They're just not that good. I know Washington's not that good right now either, but they're coming off a big win. Washington's coming off a really bad loss. They're desperate. They're mad. They're going on the road. That's usually good for a team that's desperate and mad, is to go on the road so that they can bond a little bit. I think Washington wins this game. I think they're a more talented team. They're going to be stronger defensively, more aggressive. They're going to get after Desmond Ridder a lot more than they've gotten after these mobile quarterbacks the last 4 weeks. So I think Washington wins this game with controlling the clock offensively, and I believe they win 24-20.
Well, you are not alone here.
Really?
In that, as a lot of people are taking Washington. 24-17 was a popular choice there, but Darnell and Billy in on that one. TJ taking it as well. Let's see who else had Washington. No, okay, that was it on Washington. Big E here, Washington 27-20. Saying Washington must win a game. Might be scrappy, but they've averaged 26.5. Take away Buffalo, so I'd say 27-20.
Yeah,
a lot of talk about Atlanta's. Yeah, Atlanta's defense is fairly consistent there.
They're a good defense. They're actually a very good defense, and that's fine. But they've played the likes of Bryce Young, Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud, and then 2 good quarterbacks who have beat up their defense pretty well in Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence. I just think they're a little bit overrated. They're feeling good about themselves. They're at home for the second consecutive week. I think it's just time for a letdown for them. I think you even said it earlier that this is going to be a letdown game for Desmond Ridder. I think it's just going to be, they're going to come out flat. Washington's going to come out with their hair on fire, and they're going to jump out to an early lead. They're going to do everything right, and then they're just going to hang on in the fourth quarter.
Kevin's agreeing. 27-19 Washington. Got to build all that confidence going into the Giants game. Not the debacle there. Yeah, Nathan, you're not wrong, Gus. That's why I was struggling to find those Washington ones, which, to be fair, I think 60% of the people who voted on our poll said Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to check that?
Yeah, check that real quick here. I got rid of the community post, which was a goober move on my part. Doug, 27-13 Commanders. But then you got a string of Atlanta picks here. 24-21, Allison. 24-20, Mike, thanks for joining us today, Mike. But I can't believe you're taking Atlanta there. And then Gus Bus 23-20, Koo with a 55-yarder to win and his clock expires. Someone mentioned it earlier. Desmond Ridder has not lost at home.
Yeah,
in the NFL or
in college.
In college,
yeah, that's true.
Atlanta defense underrated.
They are underrated.
Yes, they've played some poo-poo offenses. But they've still held even some good ones. Detroit Lions only managed to score 20 points against them. The Jaguars scored 23. And they have a guy named Bijan Robinson who's going to be going up against Cody Barton. You got a good kicker in Koo, and you've got an inconsistent snapper in Washington. You've got turmoil in DC. Some questions on longevity or if coaches are going to be around. You've got some young, exciting talent on the Atlanta side, and you've got bigger questions what's going to happen in Washington far as the talent. So
I can tell which way you're leaning.
And with that, Desmond Ridder, never having lost a game at home, finally loses one. Washington's going to take this one, and I'm going to go with 20-17 Washington. I do think it's going to be close, and I do think it is going to be more of a defensive effort. I do expect Washington to bounce back and have a better game after the letdown with Chicago. They had a good game against Philadelphia. Moral victory, as people call it. They had a good game against Philadelphia. They were in that Buffalo game up until 10 minutes into the fourth quarter, and then the wheels fell off.
Yep.
they were never in it in Chicago as much as I wanted them to be. And they started trying to climb their way back in. Every time they got close, they got punched right back in the mouth. I think they needed that. Ron Rivera, mid-season form, mentioned earlier how these next 7 games, Washington's probably going to go 4-3, and we're going to be thinking Washington can make the playoffs. Yeah. It's going to start here against Atlanta. That's my opinion.
You know, do you remember last year? One other thing about last year's game, that was our BRobs breakout game. That's where he had his first 100-yard game. He also had the receiving touchdown where he ran over a guy in the corner on a little swing pass. So that was his game, his breakout game. So maybe he has another big game running. But do you remember last year? There was Marcus Mariota, and he had that long play to Zacchaeus down the sideline, you know, in the fourth quarter when they were coming down. And then they got down to the goal line, and he threw that tipped. Deron Payne tipped it, and Kendall Fuller intercepted it into the end zone, and Washington ended up winning, I think, 20-16. That Atlanta should have won that game. They ran the ball pretty well, but because Washington offensively, it was the BRob show, the Brian Robinson show last year. So he has a history of playing well against them. And so hopefully our BRob has another game like that.
That could be it. I have a wonderful graphic from Atlanta in that one, but I can't seem to find it right here. No, it's of
file management.
It's of Marcus Mariota on the ground, like trying to throw the ball. If you remember, that was a great image from last year as well.
Yep.
So let's get down to it. Give me 3 bold predictions, and I'll pull some from the chat here as well.
All right, bold prediction. I think the first one is, I've been talking about it really from the beginning. This defense, Washington's defense, is going to get after Desmond Ridder. They're going to come out with their hair on fire. They're not going to worry about him running. He'll have a couple of plays where he'll scramble around and run for a first down, but he's not going to be this huge threat like these other guys have been. So they're going to come after him. They're going to really go hard at him. So I'm going to go Washington's going to have at least, and I'm doing this for you just so you'll take the action, at least 4 sacks.
Ooh, I like that.
I was going to say 3, but you would have been like, no, they're going to have 3. So I just went ahead and bumped it to 4.
So on the year, Desmond Ritter's been sacked 16 times.
16. But
3 of
Houston,
those times.
0.
Yes. 3 of those times, though.
Yeah.
He's been sacked 4 or more times.
Right.
That's a good number. Can you move to 4.5?
Sure.
All right. I'll take the under.
Go to 5, which is the same thing as 4.5, I guess. Well, you're right.
Yeah. As a team, you can't have half.
You can't have a half. You're right. You're right. I was thinking you can have half sacks, but not as a team.
As a team. I think 4 sacks is right where they're going to be. I think, like you said, the defense is going to kind of come alive. Chase Young is playing like he's going to get tagged next year. Okay. He is absolutely hair on fire, trying to be disruptive. Some people are looking at that as if he's playing out of pocket. And I disagree. I think that is a great number. I think 4 sacks is I'm only taking the under because I definitely think it's very possible that they have a breakout game on the defensive line.
Can I say for the record that I don't fully endorse your Chase Young?
You can disagree with me. You can.
I don't disagree with you. I don't fully endorse that he's one of the top defensive ends in the league. I think he's got some really good numbers.
Yeah.
But I just have a hard time with 11 pressures and 40 points. I just have a hard time with that correlation. That you can have I mean, how many
He's one person.
Right. I understand. I get that. But how many times did Justin Fields drop back?
Like off the top of my head, 20? I do not remember.
I'm not even sure he dropped back 20 times, close to 20 times.
Oh, he definitely dropped back
Did he?
more than that. 29 times even.
Oh,
And that's not
right.
including the sacks. That's not
Sure.
including the times he ran. That's just
Sure.
the incompletions. So yeah, a third of the time that Justin Fields stepped back, he had Chase Young in his face. And I think that's fair to say.
I'm not fully on board with the Chase Young is back and let's give him an $80 million contract. And I'm not there yet. I could get there.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
It took you a while to get on the Sam Howell train as well. But yeah, Chase Young is working like he's going to get tagged. Sam Howell, I think, has another good game. 300 passing yards.
You're insane. He's not getting anywhere close to 300 passing.
All right, that's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to it.
Nathan. I just think their game plan is going to be completely different this game.
Yep.
It's going to be run the ball a lot more. It has to, Nathan. They can't continue to do the same thing over and over again. It has to. So, all right. So Nathan's got Sam Howell, 300 plus yards.
We got the battle of the BRobs, Stoner. Gus with Bijan Robinson having at least 135 yards from scrimmage. And on the opposite side, 100 rushing yards for our BRob, according to TJ. Too nasty for you. Now, I want to double this. Okay, Stoner. All right. Okay. This is in honor of Trev. You need to combine something here.
Okay.
With the BRobs. The battle of the BRobs. I need you to combine something in your bold prediction. Your dollar here. Yeah, and I'll do my own. And we can see who's closest, I guess. We'll see what that is.
I'll take in the BRobs combined, I will take under 225 total yards. Combined for both of them, like rushing, receiving for both. I'm going under 225.
All right. I like that. That's a good one. That was a good one. Not quite what I was thinking.
Okay.
I was thinking more along the lines that Bijan Robinson, the Atlanta BRob, will finish with over 100 yards from scrimmage. But I am predicting that he does not top 100 yards rushing nor 100 yards passing or receiving.
Yeah. Right.
So he's going to be under 100 for both, but collectively he'll be over 100 yards from scrimmage. And then with Brian Robinson, I'm going to put him at under 75 yards. Is that bold enough for you? Is that you want me to?
You're going to go under 75 what? Total?
For Brian Robinson, rushing yards.
Oh, rushing yards. I think this is the Brian Robinson game. I'll go over 75.
Okay. All right. So those are my combined ones. You can put those and we'll see where we tally on that one. TJ taking the over at the 225. Hey, Scotty saying the Atlanta BRob getting 125 yards by himself.
Now I'm only doing the Brian Robinson 75 one. I'm not doing
that's
unless
fine.
You
that's
want
fine.
to do and or whatever. I mean,
I put it as an and thing because that's what I was asking you to do.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
That one's separate. Keep both of those numbers on there.
All right.
Because that's my separate Trev style one, and you just combined yours to say the 225, which I did not give an answer because I like that. That's good. I do think they hit the under, but TJ saying over on that one. Tall stack here. Terry goes for 100 yards, and Quan gets a pick six. Tall stack. Is this Trev? Trev, are you ditching family night? I love that one. No, I'm sure those are two separate ones. Eric Bieniemy loves spreading the ball around, Stoner. And we really haven't seen the offense target. Logan Thomas had, I think, 11 targets last week. Do you see Terry McLaurin breaking 100 this game?
No, I don't. but I do see Terry McLaurin with 8 targets.
That's good. Yeah, that's probably accurate. How about this? Do you see him with double-digit targets?
Man, that's so much considering what he's had this entire. Has he had? I think he's had one.
Do
game.
Not believe. He might have had one game. I'm going to bring it up. Yeah,
against Philly, I think he had 10, and Jahan had 9. I think they had 19 combined. No, I don't think he's going to get. I got him right around 8 or 9 targets. I don't think he's going to get.
He has only broken 10 once, and that was against Philadelphia, where he got 10 exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There. Yeah.
No, I'm not willing to go double digits for Terry. EB, who apparently doesn't know how to coach offense, just doesn't understand that he needs to target Terry 15. Terry needs to go on a rant.
Which we know he won't. Terry's not that kind of player.
And demand the ball. 2 weeks ago, it was Justin Jefferson, right, who was all ticked off and went to the media and says, I need more targets. And then he got like 19 targets in the game. And then last week, it was Jamar Chase, who's like, I'm always open. And then he gets like 18 targets and 15 catches. So that's what Terry needs to do. He needs to go to the media and say, look, I'm always open. Can somebody throw me the ball, please? And then they'll target him like 15, 18 times. But yeah, he won't do that.
Let's get a couple more bold predictions in here. TJ with Cole Turner's first touchdown.
He's got 0 in his career.
Yeah. And I don't think it happens here against Atlanta. I think that Logan Thomas, who's on the screen right now, I just think that as long as he's healthy, Cole Turner is going to be playing a very minimal role in this offense. So, yep. Darnell, bold prediction. Announcers get B-Rob and B-Rob mixed up, probably. That's that'd be fun. I definitely think one of them comes in with a lot more accolades and a lot more spice to them. So there was another one here I liked that I'm not seeing there. Mike did agree, by the way, with the Terry over 100. Here we go. PCCs. I love this one. Cody Barton makes a play in the backfield. Gus took this into an entire different level. Cody Barton with a Fred Warner-like performance. 9.5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. There's gotta be I like the first one, making a play in the backfield. Cody Barton is the number one weakness for this defense. Let's try to get a Cody Barton.
All right. So it's going to be, give me 1 second here. Why can't I find it? Who's playing? Commanders and Falcons are going to be on CBS, which a couple of years ago was not a thing.
No,
it's on CBS, but they're going to be on CBS. So they are going to be Andrew Catalan, Tiki Barber, and Matt Ryan. That's who the announcers are going to be. 100% chance they mix up the BRobs at some point. I like Andrew Catalan, but I don't like Tiki. And Matt Ryan's in his first year. I haven't really heard him too much.
So how about the Cody Barton one? How about Cody Barton doesn't miss a tackle? Maybe only 1 missed tackle.
No. He's going to have double-digit missed tackles. How's that?
No,
who wants to do that bold prediction?
No faith. There we go. Barton's PFF grade will be above 40.
Well, I don't know if he's even had that this year.
38 on the season.
Oh, woof.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. Hey, Scotty, maybe there we go. Lead tackler, most tackles.
Okay, I'll go with Cam Curl. We'll have most tackles.
No, Cody Barton. I'm trying to get you to get a Cody Barton one going. He did have the most tackles last week. There we go. Cody Barton leads the team, Washington, in tackles again.
Yeah, I'll take that bet.
You'll take it. There we go. I love this from Kevin, which Kevin, we brought your chunk plays up earlier. Maybe one of those chunk plays is a screen pass. How about Washington has at least 3 screenplays?
Okay, I'll go under that.
This is Nathan, the return of the screenplay.
You've gotten a lot better at bold predictions from last year.
I'm trying to get that action there. I love it when we get some.
Sam Howell will have at least 100 yards passing. Who wants it? What? That's not a real thing. Wait, what was the last one? Oh, 3 screen passes.
Three screen passes. So we'll see how all that goes. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure we get some fun, have some interaction. Of course, we have a lot of fun when we call the game. So make sure you tune in on Sunday as we provide the play-by-play and the commentary for you. So we've got the Atlanta breakdown that will release on Saturday. That's from the Atlanta side of things, from the Believe in the Falcons. So make sure you tune into that as well. Before we let people go here, or before we go, rather, as people are free to leave whenever they want, let's get a couple of Survivor picks made. Who do you like in Survivor this week?
That's right.
Week 6.
We're still alive.
We're still alive.
And I'm going to give you our stats. Sorry, I should have had this ready, but I'd forgotten all about our Survivor stuff. Okay, in one pool, let's see. I'm going to get the stats. I forget how to do it, so it might take me a second. So you might have to vamp for a little bit till I.
Well, looking at the games, Kansas City are double-digit favorites over the Broncos. And outside of that, you have 7-point favorites, the 49ers over the Browns. Miami, 13-point favorites, the Dolphins over the Panthers. That one might be a good one if we have them. Rams over the Cardinals, 7-point favorites. Ooh, I don't like that. That's too high. Eagles over the Jets, 7-point favorites there. Buffalo, 14-point favorites over the Giants. That one might be an easy one to take. Everybody is out for the Giants. Those are your big tickets there. I'm not sure how many of those we've selected already, though, Stoner. Let's see if anybody's got anything in the chat as far as that's. I like this one, Big E. Stoner's going to lose his mind, win or lose. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Look at this. Gus Bus changing the prediction 27 to 23. We do have power. See, Jeffrey was right. We do have power. Gus changing it over to Washington on that one. Love it. Love it. Kevin continuing with little dollars. I'm just vamping until Stoner comes up with some things. So Kyle Pitts gets a target before the third quarter. Yeah, probably does. Cody Barton, he's probably going to be lined up alongside Cody Barton. He's going to embarrass Washington. Jamin Davis has to have a game. All right. Jamin Davis has to come out on fire and be the run stuffer and be the one who is preventing Pitts in the center and Janu and just roughing it up there.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. In one particular pool, there are 86 survivors left. We are one of 86 that is still left of a prize pool of $2,943. Okay, so I have to go back here real quick. We have taken Washington, San Fran, Kansas City, LA Chargers, and the Miami Dolphins.
So we haven't taken the Bills?
We have not taken the Bills in this.
I'm taking the Bills over the Giants. Bills over the Giants. Bills over the Giants. Bills over the Giants. Slam dunk. Slam dunk. Even TJ says Bills on this one. Love the Jamin Davis with the first sack. That's a good one. I like that.
That's locked in. We have the Bills. Now let me go to the other pool. Let's see if I can find the other pool.
That's right. We haven't had a signature celebration move, have we, Gus Bus, who's wanting Jamin Davis to kind of have a signature celebration move? We don't have one. I guess now both Montez Sweat and Chase Young are doing the bow thing. I guess that's the thing.
Maybe.
I mean, the Heartbreak Kid from Ryan Kerrigan was the last good one we've had.
Yeah.
Big E asking to have a meetup in a bar or tailgate this season. We'll see what we can do. I'm all the way out in Oklahoma. I moved from Maryland, retired from the Air Force, and moved away. And I do want to make it back out there for a game. And
might do that.
If I do, we will have to have some kind of ref the district gathering. Would love to.
The team's got to get better.
They do.
You don't want to come out when you're 3-7 or something. You know,
I guaranteed if they're hosting a playoff game, I will be out there in DC.
There you go. All right, survivor pool number 2. There are only 22 survivors left.
Ooh.
So, and we are one of those 22 that are left for a prize pool of $1,755. All right, so now I will go back to here and I will tell you we have taken the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and Dolphins.
So the Bills are opening in.
Bills.
Do we want to split? Do we want to split though?
I mean, if there's another strong candidate, we could. Is there another strong candidate? I don't know that there is. I'm looking through.
San Fran over the Browns, Dolphins over the Panthers, but we've already taken the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Man, I don't trust the
San
Rams
Fran.
or the Cardinals.
No, they're going on the road. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think we got to stick with the Bills.
Yeah, I think we just take the Bills here.
Well, what about the Eagles over the Jets?
Jets have a good defense though.
Yeah.
I think
like
the Jets. I think the Jets keep that closer than Philly would like them. Yeah, I think Bills is Bill's bad karma boy. It's a trap game. Yeah, baby. Maybe. If we're out, we're out. That's the way it crumbles here on Ref the District. We've had a great time talking over the Atlanta, what Washington would fix. Of course, those week 6 predictions. Join us tomorrow as we have your daily Commanders update. And like I said, on Saturday, we'll have your Believe in Atlanta or your Believe in Falcons preview from the Atlanta side. See what they have to say about their 3-2 team. Washington tries to break even on Sunday. Join us then, and we will be happy to have you with us. But until next time,
getting a dub this Sunday, Nathan.
Be a fan.